So now this guy that we're about to hear from, I'm going to play this video for you in just a second. I'm not a big fan of this guy, and I wouldn't think he's a big fan of me. So my issue with this guy, Derek Thompson, is, he's buddies with Ezra Klein, and they wrote this book about abundance liberalism, and they're doing this big press tour now talking about how abundance liberalism is the answer to MAGA and Elon Musk, and like this is the way out for the Democratic Party. My bone to pick with him is that abundance liberalism is literally just rebranding deregulation and neoliberalism, right? And basically the argument is like Democrats have become they've fallen in love too much with regulations, and it's time to remove a bunch of regulations and get shit done. Namely, for example, like we need to build more houses, so we gotta, loosen the regulations around housing, loosen the zoning regulations, and just start building stuff, right? So that you can see under Democratic administrations, things get done. Like that's the core of the argument. And look, I have no problem with YIMBY politics. I have no problem with, building more housing, whether it be public sector or private sector. I have no problem with that. But my main issue with this is they are pitching it as if it's like the wholesale answer to Trumpism and Elon Musk. And that I just could not disagree with more. Because what are they missing? They're missing the biggest piece of the puzzle, which is the problem is the robber barons. The robber barons are the problem. Elon Musk, right? Mark Zuckerberg, Mark Andreessen, Jeff Bezos, the assholes on Wall Street. The problem is oligarchy. The problem are the billionaires and the multinational corporations have effectively bought our government, and our government represents them. It doesn't represent the American people. So it's just fundamentally misreading the core of the problem. We're living through a fascist takeover in Trump, right? He's literally shredding the Constitution. And we're also living through a robber baron coup with Elon Musk, the world's richest man, trying to gut Social Security, gut Medicare, gut Medicaid, gut our entire social safety net, gut our entire regulatory state because he doesn't want to be regulated. So I have no problem with people saying, I'm a YIMBY. I want to build more housing. Okay, totally fine with that. In fact, I agree. But don't pretend like that's the end-all be-all and that's the core of the problem. That's just a tiny part of the problem. And to pitch it as like a catch-all answer is incredibly misleading because the broader takeaway people will have is, the problem with the Democratic Party is they don't support deregulation enough, right? The problem with the Democratic Party is they're not neoliberal enough. Like that's the takeaway. It's like rebranding that third way politics again. And that I will not abide. I can't just sit back and watch that happen and pretend like they're correct about it. They're not correct about it. Now, having said that, I hope our vision wins out in the long run. And guess what? Our vision has all the juice. I mean, look at the rallies Bernie Sanders is doing, AOC are doing. Like what they're doing, it's amazing. It's incredible. And that's where the energy is in the Democratic Party. So this very top-down sort of approach to try to convince people that, this is grassroots, abundance liberalism. And it's not. It's not. Right? Now, having said all of that, you understand my disagreement with him. In this moment right now, those different factions among liberals and leftists, they don't really matter at this exact moment. And the reason they don't really matter is because we all agree on one thing. The one thing we agree on is this guy's got to fucking stop. This guy Trump, this guy Elon, they have to stop. They have to stop. Everything they're doing is destroying this country. Shredding the Constitution and due process and habeas corpus, warmongering with all these countries around the globe, implementing universal tariffs, which is just economic insanity. And so you actually see a lot of agreement with the different factions at the moment. So this guy goes on CNBC. Now, mind you, this is one of the days that the market is just absolutely imploding. And he sees them coping and seething and defending Trump and his insane tariffs. And he comes in, and I like what this guy says. This guy says he's doing the lib version of the Rick Santelli Tea Party speech. For those of you who are old enough to remember, and maybe it's not that many of you, there was a moment which is widely viewed as birthing the Tea Party, which of course was the backlash to Obama, which came about in 2010. And in that moment, you got this CNBC guy screaming at the top of his lungs about like, the government's too big and there's too much debt and people are fed up with it. You can go watch it on YouTube. Type in like Rick Santelli Tea Party speech. And now they're saying this is like the lib Tea Party speech and it's going to like rally people. So let's watch.
To be totally honest, Kelly, I've been listening the last 10 minutes of this show. I cannot believe what I'm listening to. I heard your last guest say, if the economy shrinks, that's good. If the stock market goes down, that's good. If the housing market crashes, that's good. If there's a trade war, that's good. When did the capital class get taken over by degrowther protectionists seeking 19th century autarky?
Okay, but Derek, let me just jump in for a second, because if there's one refrain we've heard from millennials over the past several years, it's that the dream is gone. They can't afford a house. Groceries are too expensive.
It's only the first chapter of abundance.
It's apparently the first chapter of your book. So
Yeah.
aren't you a little surprised to hear the globalists, the pro-stock market types who are supposed to be at fault for all of this, now reading out of your book and saying we're bringing prices back down?
They're crashing the economy. That's very, very different than making housing affordable. If you want affordable housing, you need a job. If you crash the economy, you're going to have unemployment. And whenever unemployment hits an economy, as we just saw in 2008 and we saw before in the 1990s, who loses their jobs first? It's last one in, first one out. It's young people. So if your job or if your plan is to crash the economy in the short term for the purpose of helping young people afford a house, you have got it totally backward. Young people need jobs, they need money, and then they need a plan to make housing affordable, right? Donald Trump could have come into office and said, what I want to do is to make the construction of housing affordable. That means the inputs to housing. Instead, he slaps a 25% tariff on Canada, which we import our lumber from, and a 25% tariff on Mexico that we get drywall gypsum from, thus immediately raising two of the most important inputs for housing by 25%.
He's right. He's right. And in this moment, like everybody who's resisting their allies at the moment, they're allies. Because he's right. There's this weird gotcha that MAGA is trying to do now when it comes to this market collapsing. They're like, oh, wait a second. I thought you guys on the left were against the billionaires and the multimillionaires, bro. And here's Trump doing more to wipe them out than any Democrats ever done, bro. And that is so fucking dense and so stupid on purpose. It's so stupid. Like, obviously the impact of this market crash is not going to be, oh, only the millionaires and the billionaires are feeling the pain. No. The way the stock market works, they privatize the profits. So when times are good, the wealthy do really, really, really good. But they socialize the losses. So when the market goes down, oh, they spread the pain out, right? It's not like, hey, we took all the gain, so now we're going to take all the pain. That's not the world we live in. They take all the gain, and then they socialize the pain and make everybody feel the pain. So what that means is your 401k, absolutely plummeting. There's going to be more unemployment. And also, prices are going to skyrocket. You can't tariff literally everything and not expect prices to rise. And the craziest thing is, Trump pretends like, oh, by doing these tariffs, it's going to lead to an American manufacturing boom. No, it's not. It's not. In order to have an American manufacturing boom, you would need to do industrial policy. You would need to take government money and invest massive amounts in building out our manufacturing, building out our industrial base, choosing the industries you want to thrive and throwing a lot of money at it and organize and plan. And Trump's not doing that. In fact, the domestic economic policies are complete austerity. Cut Social Security, cut Medicare, cut Medicaid, get rid of the social safety net, get rid of our regulatory bodies. But he thinks like, oh no, the free market will take over and they'll start building factories here like this the second I put tariffs on. No, they won't. Because any business person is going to look at this and go, this is an unstable market. This is completely uncertain. If I go to build a factory in America, what, it's going to be operational in maybe 10 years? And also, the price it now costs to build a factory just skyrocketed. And also, when I hire people to work at this factory, it's going to be roughly like, what, 20 times more than the factory I have overseas? We can't afford it. We don't have that much time. We can't afford it. Like, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. The free market's going to do dick because they've mythologized the free market as if it's this, this perfect thing that can never miss. And it's like, no, it's not. All it is when we talk about the private market is companies looking to make profit. That's what it is. And they will do that by any means necessary, legal or illegal if they can get away with it, right? And so it's not going to happen. They're not going to lead to an American manufacturing boom. So all you're doing here is effectively raising taxes on the bottom 99% of Americans. That's all you're doing. And so the thing that was holding this country together with duct tape and glue and bubble gum was the low cost of consumer goods. There's massive inflation when it comes to housing prices. There's massive inflation when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to education, all of these necessities. There's already massive inflation in those markets. Well, the one thing that everybody was holding on to is, hey, I can go to Walmart and get a t-shirt for $6, right? And now you're getting rid of that. And so everything's going to be expensive. So many people are going to lose their jobs. Their 401ks just got wiped out. He's not bringing in a new economic golden age. He's bringing in a gilded age, which actually is perfectly in line with what I'd expect, since he often praises the Gilded Age on the campaign trail. He was saying, the 1890s, we were richer than we've ever been. The 1890s. The 1890s, you're talking about when there was rampant child labor abuses, when there was tenement housing, when the income and wealth inequality was through the fucking roof. But the difference is, during the Gilded Age, at least those robber barons actually gave us some tangible goods like the railroads. Now the robber barons are all assholes in financialization, and they're like, are invested in crypto or some shit, where nothing of value fucking comes from it. So we're in a worse place now than we were then, and this is what he wants to bring back. And when he says, we're going to be wealthier than ever before, what does he mean, we? What does that mean, we will be wealthier than ever before? My guess is what he means is this. We're going to take the money we raise through tariffs, and we're going to pay down the debt. Well, then you are just begging for a depression. Begging for a depression. Why? Because public deficits mean private surpluses. In other words, it's Keynesian economics 101. The more the government spends in the private economy, the better the private economy does, right? When you say, I'm going to raise taxes on the bottom 99% of Americans, I'm going to squeeze them, and then also the money I raise through the tariffs, which the American people are paying out of their pockets, the bottom 99%, I'm just going to use that to pay down the debt. Well, no Social Security, no Medicare, no Medicaid, or those programs cut, no social safety net, that's cut. And then you're squeezing people and taking that money to pay down the debt. There will be no economic activity. It'll be the absolute fucking bare minimum. And it will look like Great Depression-like conditions. So this fucking sad attempt at a gotcha of it'll make the houses cheaper, so millennials should like it. Oh my God, how are these people real that are making these arguments? You've made arguments so bad that you have united polar opposite wings of the party. This guy and me. This guy is a standard centrist type, and me, a social democrat lefty. You've united us because you guys are so immensely stupid. You don't know anything. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just incredible. And I've seen some people make this argument too. Why is everybody on the left arguing against these tariffs? Shouldn't we be making the positive argument for tariffs? Why would we do that right now? Trump is ruining any semblance of protectionism for a generation with his policies now. Nobody will ever think positively about tariffs again in our lifetimes because of what he's doing now. And by the way, fuck him for that. Because as you all know, and I've told you a million times, I am a protectionist to one extent or another. But the kind of protectionist I am is about targeted specific tariffs mixed with industrial policy to revitalize certain industries. What he's doing here is the opposite. If I want to effectively put tariffs in place for 3 different industries, right? Specific countries for specific industries. If he's doing universal tariffs, and whenever anybody thinks of tariffs, they will think universal. Nobody will think targeted. Nobody will think paired with industrial policy to bring back jobs here. They're only going to think of, tariffs. You mean that thing that fucking crashed the stock market, led to mass layoffs, led to people's 401ks getting wiped out, led to people paying more out of pocket. You have ruined tariffs for a generation. So that weird galaxy brain shit of actually, if you think of it, if the tariffs were done in this totally different way, that's nothing like what he's doing, then they would be good. Why are we having that conversation right now? That is not the conversation to have. The conversation to have is this is fucking psychotic, because it is. Because it is. So anyway, there you have it. The liberal Tea Party reaction has been sparked, and it's this dude on CNBC just flabbergasted by their stupidity and their ignorance and their silliness in reacting to Trump's horrific moves. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.